welcome to Midday Muse, the podcast where we have deep conversations about the realities of life that I hope will inspire you as you pursue your purpose. My name is Tanea. I'm your host. I'm an artist, entrepreneur, mother, and all around cool chick. Corny, right? But anyway, so this is our 11th episode, and we're going to discuss the Four Agreements. The Four Agreements is a book that's written by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it was introduced to me probably in 2014, 2015, and was definitely a pivotal point in my life. I was going through some things, as we all do, and it just began an awakening for me. I won't say that it was an instant change. There was still a lot that I needed to learn and experience in order to get to the next step. And I'm still learning and growing, but this definitely began the awakening. And it's interesting because even as someone that grew up as a Pentecostal Christian, these lessons still ring true, because at the end of the day, like, it all comes down to one supreme being, and to the lesson of love and the lesson of pursuing your purpose. It doesn't really matter where you run as far as which religion you go to. At the end of the day, that's the lesson. You know what I mean? What are you here for? And just lessons on how to get you to that point. So with that said, the Four Agreements definitely helped me to begin the journey of not just, haphazardly going through life, and actually being more intentional about what I was doing and where I was going and the things that I needed and stuff like that. So I thought it was important to do this podcast about the Four Agreements because I felt like it. So I'm just gonna, I'm not quoting anything from the book. I am just gonna go through each of the agreements and tell you my interpretation of them and tell you how they have impacted my life. And I hope that you provide how it's impacted you in the comments, those of you who have read it, or if after you hear this podcast you decide to go pick it up. I definitely want to hear what you think, how it has impacted you, what the Four Agreements mean, how they relate to even your specific religion. How, what similarities have you been able to find in them? Because I always find that quite interesting, the common thread that is amongst just a general principle of love and achieving your higher self. There's just this common string that binds it all together. So, there's no discrimination that, as long as we're pursuing love and a higher purpose, we can all coexist, and we can all do what we need to do. So with that said, the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. When I first heard that, when I first read that, I thought, okay, so that means, don't lie, say nice things, or honor the things that you say you're gonna do. And of course it means all of that. But as I read on, it was powerful to me, the depth as to which this specific agreement actually goes. In the book, it gives an example. I said I'm going to give quotes, but I remember stuff, so I'll tell you. In the book, he gives the example of this mother and daughter scenario. The daughter kept singing and she was singing, and the mom was tired, and she just was like, I don't want to hear it right now. And she says to her daughter, I believe, nobody wants to hear you sing right now, or nobody wants to hear you, or something like that. And for her daughter, those words impacted her so deeply that it made her shut her voice and not want to sing ever again, because her mother told her that no one wants to hear her. And so that's the thing that she played in her mind over and over again. And so, so it just brought home more than just making sure that you do what you say you're going to do. Make sure that the things that you say have, make sure that you understand that the things that you say have power and have the ability to change the trajectory of the universe, in the positive or the negative so easily, you know? So it changed the way that I spoke. It changed the way that I put things to people. I'm still pretty straightforward, but it made me more mindful of making sure that the words that I say are in an upward motion, an upward way, in knowing that the person I appreciate that person, or, you know, I see the value in who they are rather than something derogatory. You know, I try to lead with a compliment rather than immediately being like, yo, that was whack. You know, there are great things about, you know, anything. So pulling out those things so that you're not just beating people down. And yeah, and just being impactful. And that goes beyond the things that you say to other people. That even goes to the things that you say to yourself. The words that you say to yourself are very important. It's probably more important than the words that you say to other people, because something that the Bible says, I'm kind of like my dear when it comes to the Bible. Like I know this, I know these stories and I know like the characters, but I don't really know like everything, how it goes, whatever. But anyway, so like there's this saying that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I got it. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if in your heart you are hateful towards yourself, in your heart you are negative towards yourself, and you are, you know, telling yourself that you can't do things and telling yourself that no one wants to hear you, you know, those things end up permeating through your being and impacting other people, the people around you. And especially as parents, especially as, you know, keepers of the youth, of the future, you know what I mean? It definitely shapes how they feel about themselves, because we came here knowing nothing. And so we look to our guides to tell us what to do. And you as a guide are saying to this person, like, shut up, no one wants to hear you. Or that's dumb. You know, and there are different ways to express your emotions. There are different ways to express your feelings. Like in the scenario of the mother and daughter, you know, she could have just explained, I'm tired and I would love to hear your song, but right now I just can't. Instead of exploding in emotion and anger and changing everything. You know, that kid could have been a star. I mean, she still can. It doesn't, you know, that's a whole other conversation about people derailing your purpose. But anyway, that kid could have been a star and started out a lot earlier. But now she's got this traumatic core memory that's like put a pause or even a halt to the destiny that is set out for her. So be impeccable with your word. The next one is, don't take anything personally. Don't take anything personal. Be it good or bad, compliments or critiques or outright disses. Don't take it all personal. And actually, let me backtrack for a minute, because this kind of like makes sense. Well, for me, it did anyway. He initially describes the world and us as individuals in it as everyone having their own experience and their own dream and their own reality of how things go and the way that the world works. And I actually explained this to my daughter the other day. We were having a little mother-daughter moment, and we were talking and I was just explaining to her how, oh, she was saying that I have a bad memory. And she's like, I was telling her a story. She was like, how could you remember that, but you don't remember this? And so I was explaining to her that, you know, while we are experiencing the same things, we have different perspectives and different outcomes of the same experience. And so I said to her, so for instance, while we're doing this thing here, are the thoughts in your head, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this with my daughter. She's so grown. She's so amazing. Are you having those thoughts? She's like, no. I said, exactly. You're having your own thoughts and your own experiences about the same situation that we're both in right now. So there will be things that you pick up on and that you keep in your memory bank that I wouldn't, that I miss because I'm having my own, you know, experience about it. I don't know if she got it, but, you know, she was like, okay. But I mean, she's 10, so those are the things that, you know, as a parent, it takes time to nurture and groom these things, you know, and it's stuff that I had to learn as an adult. So I am blessed to be in a position to share this with my daughter who, you know, if she listens, there are things that she doesn't have to experience because she's got the lesson like right there. You know, she'll do her own thing, but you know what I'm getting at. Yeah, so everybody's having their own experience and perspective of what's happening and the way that things are going. And so when you are impeccable about your words, you're remembering that because this person's experience with your words or the things that you say or why you said what you said or, you know, is going to be different than what you intended. And so you have to be wise, especially if you care for and respect the person. And I would hope that would be how you just go about life, just caring for and respecting people. And now I know people are saying, oh, I care for and I respect and I give and I give and I trample and people trample all over me. Do it anyway. I read a poem about that in a book I'm reading today. Do it anyway. And just be kind, because it will come back to you. It's just stop looking for it to come back in the way that you expect. Recognize that you really are being taken care of and you really are being loved and you really are being kept, even though it doesn't look like what you expect it to look like. You know, you're still hurt, you're cool. You know, everything's all right. Things I had to say to myself like up until 3 hours ago. So don't think that like, you know, you're in any downtrodden position or anything like that. Like you're cool. Everything's all right. So what was I talking about? Don't take anything personally, right? So this was more about understanding that people are in their own realm and they react to you based on how they perceive things to be. And anytime their perception changes, their words can also change. So, you know, and their actions can also change anytime their perception changes. So it just kind of puts you on a path of making sure that you're staying in your lane and that you are doing what you were supposed to do, because the people will come and go. The people's approval will come and go. Even in long-lasting relationships, within that long-lasting relationship, the approval comes and goes. You know, you have moments where you're looking at your person and you're like, are you serious? And then another moment where they're like the absolute best thing ever. You know, it comes and goes. So you can't hang your hat on how anyone feels about you or how anyone treats you. You have to consistently be on a mission for just striving and doing your best, you know, and just taking it as it comes. And when your focus is not on approval, it just makes you more at peace. I mean, I'm not even going to say that it doesn't feel good to be complimented, or that it doesn't feel bad to be disregarded or disrespected, because that's not what I'm saying. It's a mantra to stay focused and stay in your lane and keep doing what it is that you're supposed to do. And because ultimately, like, we're here to please God, and we're here to pursue a purpose that He put us here for, and anything that we need, He'll provide it, even when it don't look like you thought it was gonna look like. It's still all right. Number 3, don't make assumptions. That's a big one as well. I mean, they're all big. It's only 4. How big could they be, right? But so, don't make assumptions. This is one that takes a great deal of maturity, a great deal of emotional maturity, because it comes down to you setting aside your distaste for what's the word? Distaste for confrontation. You have to set aside you avoiding those uncomfortable conversations. And it's just a healthy part of having a relationship. Figuring out, what did you say? What did you mean by that? Why did you say that? What brought you to that conclusion? And it's not coming from a place of, what the fuck you just say? It's coming from a place of seeking to understand before being understood. Seeking to make sure that we all are on the same page with what was said and why it was said, so that we can move forward. And the conversations don't always have to be uncomfortable. It could be a compliment. It could be, it's a clarification whenever there's a fogginess in your brain about what's going on, what's the other person's intention. Because again, we are all living life through our own paradigms. So it just brings us out of our little heads and pulls us back into the reality of the fact that we are not alone. We're definitely not by ourselves. And we do need each other. And so you have to be able to hash those things out, hash out any confusions, at the risk of having an uncomfortable conversation, at the risk of understanding, oh shoot, this person really doesn't have my best interest at heart. This person really isn't on the same page as me. At the risk of all of that, you just can't make assumptions, and you have to be willing to get to the nitty gritty of what's really going on. Number 4, my favorite. Always do your best. This one is a test of your integrity, to be honest. And it's the biggest test of your integrity because it's not about, like I said earlier, it's not about what you say externally. It's about the things that you say internally. It's about the promises and vows that we make to ourselves, the goals that we set for ourselves. Always do your best. And no one can measure that for you. No one can measure what your best is for you. It doesn't matter how much help they're giving you. It doesn't matter how much money they're giving you. No one can measure your best but you. Do you have the integrity to know that you are actually doing your best? And something you have to search yourself for on a second by second basis. even as you're done and out and huffing and puffing and just like can't possibly go anymore, you have to ask yourself, okay, is it possible that I can push to do just one more thing? And if the answer is honestly no, accept that you've done your best. And if the answer is honestly yes, get up and keep pushing until your answer is okay, no. That's doing your best. That's pushing. And it's something that's internal. It's something that truly tests your integrity. Because again, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. If you're not if you don't have integrity towards yourself, if you don't honor your own goals, if you don't do the things that you set for yourself, the small things, even the big things, how are you supposed to keep your word to anybody else? You know, it's you. Like, give it yourself all the time. You have to look at yourself regularly. If you can't honor you, how are you supposed to honor anybody else? So, those are the 4 agreements. Let's run them again. They are: be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. And always, always do your best. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. I do have a segment that I'm trying to kick off, listener letters. I'll probably call it something else, but that's the best thing I could think of because I want the listeners to send me letters. I want you guys to just write in and ask me any questions or any topics that you wish to discuss. Because Midday Muse is about discussing, having deep conversations about the realities of life. So there's really no topic that's off limits at all. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast as well, please, by all means, send me a DM, send me an email at taneapresents@gmail.com. That's TANAYA presents, PRESENTS. gmail.com. Send me an email, send me a DM, and just hit me up. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Let me know any questions or scenarios you want to get my advice on, or throw out to the audience and get comments. And I'll keep you anonymous. Did I say that right? Anonymous, of course. But yeah, just hit me up. And yeah.